everyone. Welcome to the Set Point Podcast, the channel that talks about volleyball, leadership, team building, and much more. My name is Cesar Feijão and I'm here with my brother, Peter Bristocchi. How are you, brother?
What up, Cesar? Hello, everyone. Ready to take notes here, eyes and ears open. Let's talk volleyball and much more.
Yeah, and today we have a really special guest, our friend, three times in a row national champion and three times in a row
It's
NJCAA Coach
insane.
of the Year, Thais Baziquetto-Allen. Thais, thank you so much for giving us this golden opportunity. Welcome to the show.
No, thank you. I'm super excited. I'm honored to be here and get to talk to you guys. Such vast knowledge of volleyball. So I'm just excited to be here.
Awesome. And we're going to have a lot to talk about volleyball, about your history, about your three times in a three-peat. Who is a three-time in a row national champion, Peter
We
Bristocchi?
have we have the knowledge. She has the trophy. So who has the knowledge, really?
I
We're
know.
just racking up the rings.
I I
Nice.
always joke with her that she would need a bigger office. Every year she needs a bigger and bigger office because she has so many trophies, so many plaques that she needs a bigger wall, a bigger space to collect and put all of them. So that's
I
amazing.
hope my AD is listening to this
Yeah,
podcast.
let's make sure this
Yeah,
podcast gets to your AD.
Hey, boss, give the boss a bigger
Yeah,
office.
I
please,
know.
please. She's winning it all. And we're gonna talk about your history, about your recent three-peat, which is completely amazing. But first, we have a sponsor here in our podcast, which is Nexus Next, which is you are a Brazilian. You did the same process that we did a few years ago, and you established yourself here in the US. But many Brazilians don't have that knowledge of how and where to reach out for help. So if you are Brazilian and you speak English, you understand this message, just click access the QR code that it's going to stay on the screen for the whole episode and talk to Lucas Negrin, who is our friend, our partner here in this podcast, and discover how many opportunities of coming to the United States, Peter,
In English today,
in English.
187.
Did you know, Thais, did you know that there are 187 opportunities, visa types of visa to come?
187.
187 types of visas to come to the United States. We didn't know that, and it's
Yes.
incredible. So you, American, that is listening to this podcast, and you have a Brazilian friend who wants to come to the United States, tell him to access the QR code. Talk to Lucas Negrin of Nexus Next. Say that you heard this message at Set Point Podcast, and he will take care of you. Okay, but Thais, let's talk about you now. I was researching your bio here.
How
You
many
was
days to talk about her?
yeah.
The
Oh my
resume.
God,
If
no.
if you're gonna count all the wins, we're gonna need like I don't know, a few weeks to talk about it. But you started your coaching career. We're going to talk about your history as a player, how you came to the U.S. But as a coach, which is our main focus here, you started as an assistant coach at Lamar Community College. That's
Wow.
where I met you back in 2009. You stayed
Hmm.
there for a couple of years, and then went to Liberal High School as the head coach in 2010 and then moved on to Seward Community College as an assistant coach. Liberal and Seward are in the same city, right? In Liberal,
Yeah,
Kansas. And then
yes.
became the head coach in 2015. And then in 2018, got the job at Florida Southwestern State and has been there since, right? So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about your history. How did you come to the United States and why? And we'll progress in your history here.
So do you want me to talk about the student athlete part as well, or just the coaching part starting there?
No, you can tell us all.
All right.
Tell
So
us all.
um it was just right in the beginning of I think I was right in the beginning when American junior colleges were start bringing Brazilian players in to play. So I actually this is going to be so, and I was reading a newspaper, Folha de São Paulo, And
Oh
then he
wow.
had, I know, and then he had an article about Daqui Pra Fora, which was one of
Yeah.
the like the first companies that they had,
Mhm.
and there was an email address. So I just reached out and I was like, hey, just read your article. I'm interested on the process. They reached back out, and then we did and so then we went to a gym, we did a video, and they said like, all right, about in a year or so, you'll be able, we'll find your place, and then we'll start all the process. And I would say about a week or two later, they call and they say, there's a scholarship, you'll be leaving in a month.
Oh
Yes. So
Wow.
it was
Who
just like,
do
no,
you
well,
do
so
you
that is this. Huh?
do you remember the name of the person that did the process for you from the Pra Fora?
I do not. I'm sure I can get, because I still have my email from that
Gelson?
time. So
Was it
yes,
Gelson?
it might have been. Holy
Yeah,
crap. Yes.
good friend.
So
I
so
did some works with them when I
oh,
was
that's
coaching in Brazil. Yeah,
yes. So it was crazy. So
awesome.
then, and I think that's who he was. And then the same reaction you guys had was my parents. Like my mom was all for it. My dad was just like, no, like, she's not ready, because I spoke no English, like zero. Like,
Mm.
like you take your basic English courses. So it's just I was kind of starting on that. And then my mom ended up convincing my dad. And then 1 month later, I came to St. Petersburg College. I played junior college for 2 years. After I graduated, I transferred to Western New Mexico, a D2 in New Mexico, Silver City, New Mexico. We were in the RMAC at that point. I think they're in the Lone Star now, but we were in the RMAC, so we played like all the Colorado schools and everything. I actually stay an extra year there to graduate. I graduated with a
Mhm.
bachelor's in chemistry and kinesiology, which is, chemistry is just like out there, but I loved it. It was just, and then kinesiology kind of like now goes into what I'm doing.
Mhm.
Um, and then, so once I graduated, my teammate got the head coach job at Lamar Community College, Courtney Heiser at that point. And then, so she's like, I didn't know what I was doing. I was graduating. I applied for my OPT. So then he gives you a year of optimal training. And she's like, do you want to be my assistant? And I was like, yes. I really didn't know what I was doing at that point in time. And she needed an assistant, and it was great. It was just it felt natural to coach, natural to teach. We had a really good year. She gave me a lot of leeway to, like, I had the hitters. We had like some individual separation, and I had the hitters at that point. And honestly, like I was just out of college. I think at that point you don't think about preparing, like reading a book about coaching or reading a book about drills and things like that. You just kind of like net like it was just kind of like let's do what you feel right at that point in time.
Mhm.
But we had a good year. But the OPT was only for a year. And that's when the opportunity for Liberal High School came about. They offered me a work visa, and then so I taught high school chemistry, and then I was their head volleyball coach, and I ended up being their head swimming coach too, as well.
Oh
Because
wow, I
in
didn't know
Brazil,
that.
yes, in Brazil, like everybody get like at some point you were in a swimming class, right? Like you get like everybody kind of knows how to swim. But I swim competitively for about 7 years in Brazil before I got really into volleyball.
Oh wow.
Um,
Yeah.
Wow.
so that yes, so I was also the swimming head coach there. We actually took the first team ever to the state tournament. We had one of our players that actually went to swim in college. Uh, so I did that for the 4 years. And then I became the assistant coach for Stewart County Community College. After about 7 months, the head coach decided to move on to the administrative side, and he became the head of admissions. And then I got the head coach job there. And then I was there for 4 years. My last year there, we went 32-1. I want to say we lost like one game. But then I got offered this job. Uh, to start the program. So I got hired in 2018 to start. They didn't have volleyball, so they build the Suncoast Credit Union Arena. It's a $26 million arena. And they
Holy cow.
started. No, it's you gotta Google.
Incredible.
Like go on Google, put Suncoast Credit Union Arena, Fort Myers.
I've seen some pictures and it's
Yes,
absurdly cool.
it's insane. Like we have, our floor, we fit about 3,200 people. We have big screens. We actually just hosted two D1 basketball tournaments like the Fort Myers tip-off with like Michigan, Xavier. For the women's side, we had Michigan, South Carolina. So it's a big
The
tournament.
big schools.
Um,
Yeah.
yes. So I got hired in 2018 and we had polls. I tell this all the time to people. Like we had volleyball polls. We didn't have net, no balls, no jerseys, no team. We just had the 3 poles that we can set up 3 courts. And it was it was a very unique experience. I don't think a lot of coaches get the chance to sit in an empty office and put together a vision of this is my ideal program, what I want that to look like. From recruits to budget to jerseys to nets to equipment, everything was like my vision of what FSW looked like. And I'm grateful that George Sender, my AD, um, he really like step back and just tell me what you need, but we hire you because we know you can do it. So just whatever you feel that you need to get done, we're gonna push for it. So 18, we didn't have a team, and that was the weirdest. I tell you, I bother every friend I have because it's just like, how's your team? How is it going? Because like I didn't have a team, I didn't have players, no practice, no games, and that was the first time in a long time that was in my season. But it was good, and then 19 was our first season. I won. I keep saying it, but I think we went like 18 or 16-8 or something like that. We
Yeah,
finished fourth.
you're right. 16 and
Yeah,
8.
there you
Which
go.
was
We
already
finished.
a very, very good record
It's
for a
really
first year.
good record, yeah.
Yes, we had 13 freshmen. We had two because the transfer portal wasn't a thing yet. So then we had 13 freshmen, 2 transfers, and it was just 13 freshmen and a team that is brand new. It was definitely every day was a challenge on like leadership and example setting. Because the first day of practice was the first day of practice for every single one of them. Like dictating conduct and behavior and expectations, that was something that had to be set every day. So then we ended up finishing fourth that year at the state tournament for the region. Then the very next year we went to the national tournament and went in the eighth at the national tournament. Then the next year we went back to the national tournament, went the fifth at the national tournament, and then since then we went back and finished first for the last 3 years.
Wow, that's amazing. And we're gonna talk a little bit more about FSW, which is your the main school in your career, of course.
Yes.
Given that you've been there for 6 years and you've won many great tournaments, like you've made many All-Americans, Coach of the Year. That's a great history. And um, but yeah, Peter, take over.
Yeah,
Right.
I have a question about the junior college because when we talk volleyball at the collegiate level, the
Mhm.
glamour is on, NCAA, D1, D2, D3, and not many, especially foreigners, right? Not many people know about the junior college possibility, the NAIA. And so what changed in the last few years? Because I heard back in my day when I knew nothing about college ball in the U.S. that was the main door through which Brazilians would come to the U.S.
Mhm.
But how does that whole scenario changed over the last few years from when you played to now? How can you give us like a general view of that landscape?
You're correct. I think junior college has been pathway for a lot of international students. I think part of it is because uh, I think there's 2 folds to it. First, I think sometimes the English requirements for the junior college are a little bit lower than you have in a 4-year schools, with SAT, ACTs, or TOEFL. Like we have a TOEFL score, but it's a little bit lower than you would be in a 4-year school. So then I think you can come in with like a intermediate level English and still be able to be successful, which is the same thing in a classroom because when you're talking about junior college. And I think that's the other fold too, because um, the American educational system is different. So when you talk about 2-year schools internationally, you're talking about like trade schools. So you go there, you stay for 2 years, you get a certificate, and now you're in the workforce. You're going to work. Here in the U.S., as you know, it's a progression. So you have a more of, I tell people, it's like a la carte situation for your degree. You have a list of the classes that you have to take, and you can take however you want. So in junior college, you take all your general education classes. Everybody has to take English, Comp 1, Comp 2, math, and things like that. So then you get to take a lot of those classes, but junior college are usually geared towards that in the community. So you have smaller classrooms, so you have a little bit more of academic support instead of going to a 4-year school that has sometimes like 100 kids in a class. So I think he helps them to be successful. I think another part too is that junior college gets players exposed in a different way. So, while coaches might not go to Brazil to watch a player, might not go to Italy to watch a player, they can come to Florida and watch all of them in our gym. So, or watch on we'll just send our volumetrics games, and they're more used to the collegiate system. So I think he creates a more certainty for 4-year schools that they can play on the collegiate system. They can be a student athlete. And they can come and see them in person. So I think those are parts that have changed where, our team, I think we have players from 7 different countries. We have Brazil, Italy, Peru, Germany,
Wow,
Finland,
that's cool.
Slovakia, Slovenia. We had Egypt, South Korea. So we have had players from Bulgaria. We have Bulgaria, from all over, and it's just been a really big pathway for players to come and play. And you've seen that in junior college. We finished first. The team that finished second also has a lot of international students. And if you go down like 1 through 10, you see that they might not be as predominant as we were, but there are 3 to 4 at least in some of the rosters.
And I'm gonna add one thing here in terms of coaching opportunities. Junior college level is a great opportunity for coaches as well. I am a product of junior colleges. The first time I came to the US, I was a junior college coach. So it was a great way for me to start and get to know the system here, the American system. And it's a great level. Not I don't know if a lot of people know, but the top 20 of the NJCAA is good teams. It's good teams, good volleyball. And you can see Thais talked about when we were not in the air yet of her Saturday that went to Oregon, where Oregon is one of the best teams in the country. It has been for a long time. And coaches have a really great opportunity in a junior college level. I am a big fan too. So just to point
Right.
that
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. So great opportunities for players, especially international
Yes.
players, and also coaches. So that's great information. But I want to go back a little bit now to the beginning of your coaching career. So you said you were just out of college, right?
Yes.
Uh, when we're out of college, we have a we think we know a lot,
Yeah.
or at the same time we were like, man, where do I start? How do I start? And you may have some some figures that are references for you as a coach, right? So some
Yeah.
people you look up to. Who are your references in the beginning? Your mentors in the beginning of your coaching career.
Um, and you're right. I think when you first start, I think you're just blissfully unaware of what you don't know, or like the
Exactly.
magnitude of what goes into coaching. Because when you come out as an athlete, all right, my coach is there for 2 hours. He planned a practice. That's what he entitles, right? Just be a coach. You plan a practice and then you're done. But I think you're just unaware of what else it goes through. In the beginning of my career, I think a lot of came from my coach, Jim Callender from my college. He has a great experience. He was a really good coach. He knew how to balance, performance based. Now what I know, balance performance based drills with drills like, or if we're stressed in midterms, and have a little bit more fun in practice and 6-on-6 and that balance. So a lot of the drills, even though I don't think I knew exactly the background of why those were placed at certain point in times, I knew that they worked. So he was a big thing. And he actually still follows my career. We talk all the time.
Oh,
Every
that's
day he
cool.
texts me and he texts me about, and we get to, because I know he's invested, so we get to talk about like tactical things and things like that. So he's definitely someone that at the beginning was a big part.
Nice. That's very, very cool. And then
Amazing.
when as we, we take those steps into coaching, and then here in the US, for the people that don't know, when you are a head coach, you're not only a head coach, you're a manager. You have to be the director, the technical director. You are the talking club, like that comparison to club. You are the one who who's in charge of the technique, the tactics, all the things related to volleyball, but also budget, traveling, where are you going to spend your money? What is the equipment that you need? And then who are you going to play? Scheduling. And you're in charge of a lot of people. What in Brazil, we said this before in other episodes, in another opportunity. While in Brazil, when you're, in the pro league, you have like 4 or 5 people managing everything that has to be done. Here, everything falls on the head coach. And so you need to know a lot about the stuff that goes around volleyball itself, right? Everything that
Yes.
gives the support and all of that. And so even more so when you're starting a new program from scratch, right? You have 3 sets of poles, and what am I
Mhm.
gonna do now? So I am a new coach. I'm starting a new program, and by me, I mean you. I'm starting a new program. I have to figure everything out, and biggest, what to me is one of the biggest challenges is to set the culture. And you got to start something, but you have nothing to look back, and then we go from there. I have to start this. So, um, I want to ask you that what your planning looked like in the beginning. Right? How did
Mhm.
planning work? Because one thing is planning when you have a lot of information, you have a lot of experience, and something else is having to plan, but you have nothing to start. Right? Where do I start from? So that, and then how was that challenge of establishing? And then I'm gonna leave culture for Cesar to talk about it, but I'm
Mhm.
interested in knowing how was that challenge to implement that new culture? What were the main values that you selected for the program, and why did you select them?
Yes. Um, you have to be very clear on what your vision of the program is like, because like you said, it's not like, so when I was trying to recruit players, it's not gonna say, oh, last year we did this and here's what we
Right.
want to do next. It's I understand we have nothing. We really sold our players on be the first. Be the first to
Ah,
That's what
nice.
we told them, like, be the first player, set records, be the first one to be the leading scorer on aces, be the first one to win conference, be the first one to serve the first ball in our gym. We sold them a lot of, like,
So cool.
set records and be the first. That was the selling point for our players, like, because there isn't, like, you're the one is like when we recruit and we talk about, like, now we talk about the past. At that point we're like, you will be the one that we'll be talking to next year. What, like, we want you to be the first. And that was the selling point for us, for a lot of our players, and a lot of them. And I had success prior to where I was, so I did tell them that, like, I done it before, I know what it takes, but I want you to be the first on this journey, and I want you to be the one on the record books. And
That's
that's
genius. That's
yeah.
genius.
Very cool.
That's
Yeah,
very, very
that's like
good
the
selling point.
one.
That's very smart. Yeah.
So that's what we went for. And I think that's, and a lot of we had a lot of talented players that had the chance to go somewhere else, but did want to be the first one to wear the jerseys and be the first one to be FSW. So that was just more of the selling point. I will say the culture and setting the culture piece, I had to pick and choose what had the most impact on a daily basis. So, like, now we have other things, like, we not talk about competitive aggressiveness and things like that. But at that point, it's just show up on time, work hard, like, do your best. Like, those are things that are like, those were things that they're easy. I can model that every day in practice. And those give you direct like more tangible things. Like if I say we need to work hard, I can go in the gym. I can talk about you being on time, you lifting heavier weights, you not skipping reps. I can be in the gym. It's like you're not running, you're not, I don't think I think you can give better than what you are now. So like that kind of opened up a lot more of what we could do and like bring it in. But I think just basic, simple pillars that just push that had a bigger like umbrella. That was what we looked for because we had to model that every day, and that's not because like now we have players that have experience, so they do a lot more. But anytime like I don't have a shirt, like that was us, like or any small things or big things where like we were having problems in the dorm, like everything was us. Like we model, like the coaching staff model had to model every day. And that's not something I do now. But at that year, that was something that I don't think I was aware of how much that would take of my like how much awareness I had to be on that. And then that first year was very, very big.
That's good. Like regarding culture, simple is also better than complex, right? Simple values and solid ones. That's
Definitely.
great. Yeah. So I imagine that now you built a very, very successful program. Yeah, three-peat. Come on, national champion,
Yeah.
three-peat. That's not for
How many
anybody
how many people
can
you
say
can
that. Right?
can say they have a three-peat?
I will
Very
say
few,
that
very, very few.
yes. So in volleyball in junior college, so before a long time ago, they didn't have Division 1, 2, and 3.
Hmm.
And CSI, I think, did. I think they won like 7 in a row. But since they changed to divisional volleyball, nobody has ever done it.
So
I know
okay, so
David Hare had two in a row, maybe.
Yes.
Uh, the other girl that took over for him at Blaine College had some. Uh,
And
Kiko
then,
had like two in a row at Miami Dade, but three-peat, I don't. I think you're the
yes.
first
so
one.
you yeah. So look, this is funny because you didn't know that when you were selling Be the First, you were selling that to yourself too a few
Oh,
years in
I
the
know.
future.
I know. I
Exactly.
got the
That's a
first,
really good
yes.
point. Yeah.
You see, I was just
Awesome.
projecting out there. I was just putting out there and then,
Manifesting,
yes,
manifesting.
Right?
I was
Yes. So
manifesting.
now you have a very successful program, and in 2018 you had nothing.
Yes.
Did anything change regarding the culture or the values? Did you see any changes happening that you felt like I need to change this in our program, or no? No, the values that we set in the beginning are still the same, and we're still working with that because that might happen, right?
Yes.
Sometimes over time, you have to review: is our culture still does the values that we have? Does it still reflect our vision of the program, or did that change? That might change, but how did that work for you?
It changed. I don't know if it changed, but I think there was just an evolution of it. I think
Hmm.
having players with more experience allowed me to just expand a little bit more on things. And I think I will say on the first year there was a lot of more like setting patterns and X's and O's.
Hmm.
While now there's a lot more into it as far as, players' mental health and visualization and leadership and things like that. Where, like, on the first year, to be honest, I didn't expect a lot of player leadership. There was a lot of coaching led leadership, which is not something I want and something that I believe works. But I think at that point in time, that was what worked for that specific year that we had until like towards the end. But now that's something that it's completely shift, like the leadership in our program. You know uh it's I want put on my players, I guide them through it, we talk, we have meetings about it. But that has changed a lot, and I think our values have gotten more complex. We have had other things. Honesty is one thing that we added to it, and I think that's very important. When we talk about honesty, like we talk about like we expect you to tell the truth, and that's not what the honesty we talk about. We talk about more like transparency and being yourself. So like being honest with yourself so that you're able to speak your truth and feel comfortable of who you are. Because we do have players from all over the world. And we always compare like with family Christmas. You have like the crazy aunt that's super loud and do all of that. And you have the quiet cousin that's on the corner, but they're all part of the family and they're all honest to who they are and then what they bring to the family. So I think that I think the values just became a little bit more complex because we were able to be more player led on those senses.
And
Do you have a set of values? Like, do you have like, oh, let's
I
list this, and this? Oh, she
yeah,
does.
we do. Like we talk
If
to the
you're
players.
uh,
watching us on
she has
YouTube,
a
there's a
binder.
binder.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you're just listening, Coach has a binder with her
Yeah.
values. That's super
yeah.
cool.
So, which ones are your core values?
We start with respect. I think that's the first. So every year we give them a binder, and that's I think it's just a physical thing that they have, and part of it has our pillars we talk about to it. Respect is one of them, and there's so much that you can talk about respect, but just the way you speak, your body language. But we also talk about, being on time is part of the respect because if you're late, that means you don't respect my time or your time, and you don't respect what we're trying to do. So there's a lot that goes into that respect, and that's just kind of the base. And to when we do this, when we talk to the players about this, we allow them to what does respect look like because I can tell them over and over again like you have to respect each other, but for them is like what does respect in a team look like to you. And then once they talk we add some more of what they want to do. Family, I know sometimes like family has like this culture of family. They talk about like, oh, if they say about family, be careful. But we talk, there's an acronym, it's forget about me, I love you. Like it's just more of like it's not about me. It's just about like the family and the culture and everything, and just being part of being who you are into that group and feeling comfortable with that and having that common goal and being all one in a team. Academics, that's really big for us, especially in junior college. Um, we want them to graduate. We want them to have good GPA. Especially like we have 424 kids that go from a foreign institution to us to another foreign institution. They have to graduate. So we have had we've been ABCA all academic team every year. We have had a team. Last year we had I think a 3.5 GPA as a team, or maybe a little bit higher. So that's very
That's
important
very
for
good.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we tell them like your transcripts are gonna be there every job you turn, like every job you apply, you're gonna turn in your transcripts and
Yeah.
and
Gotta
coach.
study, people.
Yeah, and
Yes.
people don't realize how difficult it is to coach international players and have them focus on academics because sometimes they come with the professional mindset and say, "Hey, I'm
Yes.
going there to play volleyball. Academics is going to be just a pathway to actually play my volleyball," and they kind of put academics aside as a second priority. And
Yes.
here you can't do that, right?
Yes.
So
So, and that's you're
challenge.
right, because like we have some players that like maybe were homeschooled in high school because they lived in a different town because all they did was play volleyball and they didn't have time to go to school. So then there's a lot, and you're correct. So then we do emphasis on that because they are. I know this is very cliche again, but they are student athletes, and
Yeah,
that's
no,
part
for
of
sure.
it, and that's part of why they came to the U.S. so that they can do both. So then we focus on that. Honesty. So that was another one that we talk about. Just not being honest, like in a sense of like telling the truth, but also transparency, vulnerability, and authenticity. Those are the three things we talk a lot about when we talk about honesty. We want them to be authentic. Like we always talk about what you bring outside your skill level into the team. And it's just like you need to bring something, and you need to bring something that unique to you. Like there's nobody like you in the world. So what are you bringing to the team that is just you?
I really
And
love that.
it's
So
just like
And especially
I
when you
love
have
that.
a crew that has a lot of international players, they're far from family, they're far from their culture, and then out of a sudden they can't be who they are. You know,
yes,
it might break them, right?
yes,
If they don't feel that they can be who they really are.
If
yeah, and
you
especially oh, go ahead.
sorry, just to comment on that. I really really love that. And if you allow me, I'm gonna bring that to my leadership group.
Oh, yes,
It's
of
so
course.
good. It's so good. Very,
You
very
know,
good.
so, and I think because, like, English is my second language, and it takes you a while for you to have enough vocabulary to express yourself exactly how you want it, or use the words that you want. So then when you're beginning, like, it's so hard to express yourself. It's so hard to, like, have your own personality. And they talk about if you speak different languages, have different personalities on the different languages too. So then, and they're
Yeah.
finding themselves. So I think it's very important for them to be authentic and to bring something into the court that's outside their skill level.
Mhm.
And then competitive greatness. I stole that. But that's on top there. But that's just on the recruiting process. We tell them, like, if I have to tell you to run in practice, if I tell you to have to work hard in practice, if I have to tell you stop and give you effort, I recruited the wrong person and you're in the wrong gym because, like, there's no time for that. So then we just kind of talk to them a little bit about just being great at being competitive, be great in practice, be great on the drills, and be great on lessons.
Amazing.
That's incredible. Yes.
Incredible.
But we're gonna come back to talk about more leadership and culture. What I want to go over now is volleyball. And
Yes.
so, especially the changes, how you evolved as a coach in the sense of how you see volleyball and how you train volleyball. So, how was Thais when you started coaching? What were your methods of coaching? How did you see what were the most important parts of the game that you emphasized? And what did you keep and what did you change over the years? Is Coach Thais today, volleyball wise and method wise, different than Coach Thais in 2018?
Yes. I To be honest, I think when I first started coaching, it was more of what drills do I like, and what drills do I think are, competitive and fun, and just like that work with the team. I don't think I don't think I know I didn't have a full view of a season, or of a team, or guidelines, or things like that. Like, when I first started, I really didn't. I would play in practice. I was like, okay, I know, you get a warm up, and then I like doing hitting lines, and then I want to do, some type of ball control drill, and then one focus, and then end on 6-on-6. So then, like, there was just more of like a day-to-day things, and and then that was just kind of it. And then we just see how practice went, and then just plan the next day. And I think it was just more of a day-to-day. While now, which it's crazy to think, because it's like, how do you even, like, progress when you don't have a view of what the progression looks like? And now it's completely different. Like, I have an Excel file with a periodization. We know exactly how many practices we have every season. We know how when our main matches are going to happen in the middle on the season, so that we know to switch from volume practice when we're just getting a lot of touches, to go to more quality touches, to go to performance based practice, to switch from, the percentage of what we're doing in practice. At the beginning, we do a lot of, skill based, and maybe 20% on 6-on-6, but then we go from 50-50, and then we change to 20 on skill, which by that time of the year, like, if you still have 50% of your practice on skill, then we didn't do it right. So then we go from, like, maybe 20-30% skill, and then like 80%, 70% on 6-on-6, still skill, not just like play 6-on-6, but like focus 6-on-6, so that we can do that. So that's more of the changes. And I think one of the things that I thought, it was like, at the end of every year, I had a list of things that I needed to do better as a coach. Whether it was a skill that I needed to do better, or if that was something that maybe I didn't, not like, our trips were not as organized as I wanted to do. Maybe our study hall was not as great as it needed to be. So, like, every year I had a list of things that I need to get better as a coach. And I think that list just kept going and going. And I think that was just a natural progression of not being so naive and playing one practice at a time.
I work with junior volleyball, and I am one of the biggest advocates you will ever know about progressions, especially for
Mhm.
youth, right? And so, listening to you talk about the use of progressions, even at the collegiate level, And Cesar does that all the time with his team. So it doesn't matter the level that you're playing
Oh,
at,
no.
right? You need progressions. You need to have an overall view. Well, where do I want to get at the end of the season? Where do I want to be at the end of the season? Where am I right now? And what do I have to do to get there? And these
Yeah.
progressions
Mhm.
and over the years too, informing that to your athletes so that they are aware of the process. So we're doing and making them a part of it, and that empowerment of the athletes and making them part of the process is also a great thing. And listening to you talk about those leadership aspects and the culture aspects, I'm sure your athletes are in great hands. But now,
Mhm.
when we watch your teams play, how would you characterize your teams as like we we are offense based. We like to have the ball up in the air. We're great at defense. How do you see volleyball, and what are the main points that you think a team needs to have to be on the right pathway to success?
We're a definite offense team. That is just something that I think it's the fun part of the sport, just being able to score points and things like that. But I think we do.
Amen.
Yes. Oh, it's just because
We
okay.
like
So
that. We
like
like
with
that.
our players, we talk about it. So like when we're setting our goals and then we're talking about like what we want for our team. Part of them I said like we need to have tangible goals. Like win a match is not a tangible goal. It's like that there's more that goes into that. And one thing we talk about is okay, you have 25 points, right? A really good team might give you 5 errors a set, right? Between service errors, net or hitting errors or whatever. So you're talking about you have to score in a good match. So like you're talking about the top, you got to score 20 points. How are you going to do that? The biggest chunk of that has to come from offense. You have to be scoring 13 to 14 kills per set there, and that is a higher number. But when you're playing, you can't expect them to. Like when you're playing a team that's a little bit lower level, you expect what 8, maybe a little bit more. So then you have a lot more leeway on where you can score. But if you're playing a high level match, you're talking about a lower. So we talk about you get to score 13 to 14 kills per set. Um, and then we talk about service, like you see, like we're a big offense, and I tell my setters, don't be boring on the offense. Like you have to have some creativity to
Yes.
it. Like have some fun,
Yes.
like move the ball around, move the tempo, move the position, move the players. Like and I allow them to make errors on that. Like in practice, we go in, or even in a game when you get to it, like obviously in the right timing, but allow them to have some creativity because they're making that decision every day. So if you just tell them like, hey, we need to set this person or we need to set this ball, it's just like you're not allowing them to have some leadership and some thought process on the thing. So it's like just I tell them like I know this sounds so simple, like just don't be boring. Like just have some fun on what you're
That's
doing.
so cool.
And make
That's
those
the
Amen.
decisions.
Amen
empowerment.
to that.
Yes.
Amen to that.
That's the
It's just
empowerment
like
on the court.
yes.
It's
So
incredible.
so offense is one of them, like often like hitting it's and we've been very fortunate that even like this year our offense was very balanced. There was multiple games that we had players that had, 9, 10, we had 4 or 5 that had those. So it's just like we had a very balanced offense and our setters had a very good feel of who to set, when to set, and open up and close it up the offense. So even in the same opponents, maybe we played them one time and our outsides went off. And then this game they kind of camped on our outside. So then our middles and our right sides were the new offensive on that game. And that's what made it hard. People beat us because they couldn't stop one or another. We had a very good spread out offense. Serving is very important. I think that's one thing that when people looked at like a stat sheet, they see aces and errors, but there's so much more that goes beyond that. Is what is between those? What is getting them out of system? What is getting them in a position where they're being more predictable and setting one side than the other and setting the player that you want to block and setting a player that might not get as many reps on other games but are getting more reps now because the limitations of the setter. So I think those are the two things that year in and year out our teams have been very focused on. I think we have led the country either in kills percent or hitting efficiency the last 4 years. And that we do focus on that a lot.
What's
And
a question here, just out of curiosity? Do you have off the top of your head your side out percentage and your hitting percentage as a team?
Our side out percentage this year was about a 58, I want to say. I need
Okay.
to look at volumetrics, but it was close to 60, and our hitting percentage
First
was
ball side out or side out
no,
in
just
general?
side out in
In
general.
general. Okay.
Oh, my computer died. I can't go into my
oh,
volumetrics, but
that's fine.
yes,
That's a
and
good
then
number.
our hitting percentage was above 300.
That shows how often how offensive your team is.
Well, that's the thing though. So
That's pretty good.
one, hitting, again, I'm biased towards junior volleyball, right? So hitting is the most fun thing to do. So
Yes.
coaches out there, you're starting kids, start your program by teaching them how to swing and scoring points from your first practice, because they will want to come back and do the so-called boring stuff that lead up to good hitting, right? When you're playing basketball, you want to shoot the basket. When you're playing soccer, you want to score a goal. In volleyball, you want to put the ball down. So that's one. And two, uh,
Amen.
you're very in line with what research shows. Like most
Exactly.
points in volleyball are scored out of swinging. There are four ways to score in volleyball. Serving, so you ace the opponent, you stuff block the opponent, you swing, you take a swing and get a kill, or your opponent makes errors. So, and then when you do when you're good at hitting, not only you score more points at hitting, but you're forcing your opponent to make more errors too and be more predictable,
Hmm.
like you said. And that also starts with good serving. So have an offensive team is just the nature of the sport. And there are a lot of coaches and programs out there that neglect hitting, right? We think a lot about keeping the ball up in the air, keeping the ball up in the air. Well, somebody has to put that ball down, and the team that does that better is very, very likely going to win. So listening
Yeah.
to you talk about the importance of being offensive and aggressive is something that bleeds out at all levels. And even if we look at NCAA Division 1 or even international volleyball, like even like for example, we were talking about the other day how in the 2000s, that decade, the Brazilian men's team, we were in Brazil, we were the most aggressive, offensively speaking, team in the world. And then that generation, they won everything, right? And so you got to be offensive. You can't be nice when it comes to
Yes.
hit. You can't
Yes.
be nice. And
Can't be
we
I
I
know.
tell you can't be nice. I tell this to our kids every day here. Getting blocked is part of the game. Getting blocked is part of the game. You see a lot of young kids who, take a swing, they get blocked, and then they stop swinging. They start tipping, they start rolling. Like, no, 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 no. You gotta keep swinging. You gotta don't be. You tell your setters don't be boring at
Yes.
setting. And we tell the hitters don't be boring at hitting. You gotta be aggressive. That's
Yes.
very, very cool. And
I think it's funny. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, 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 no. You go, you go, you go.
Two things. So I just had a conversation because I was talking to a parent about, and he said his daughter is young, and I said one of the things is just at a young age they can't jump and swing as hard, so then people focus on ball control and first thing, but that is not the progression of the game. They're going to get to an age where physically they're going to be able to do that, but they have no mechanics to back up, so then they're going to start from zero in an age that they can do. Now I'm not saying they'll go there and just swing balls, but there is a lot more to mechanics that he can add and add to that. And second is I think I can count in one hand how many times we tipped this year in a game. Uh, I don't think he even feels one hand. So, but because like you're going to be blocked out, like blocks are going to be in front of you. So being blocked is part of it, but totally the block's part of it. Swinging around the block's part of it. Swinging
Yeah.
as hard as you can into the block and a blocker, then it's not going to close is part of it.
Right. You don't know if the block is good. Why are you
There's
hitting around the block?
so many ways to
Just because
score.
the hands
It's
are
so
there
many
doesn't
ways.
mean they're good.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes, correct. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Oh my gosh. All right,
That's
we're
so
in
good.
sync, people.
Good.
So now my next question to you is, how do you study? What are the sources of information for you? I know that watching games and volumetrics and all that. Um, but in addition to that, where do you seek your information? How do you get better at coaching, your education, and how does that happen for you?
Um, there's parts to it, I think, and I don't think I've done a really good job recently, but I think just going, the AVC convention is one of them. Just being there and listening, there's so much information that gets dissipated in a matter of 3 to 4 days.
Yeah, talking to
That
people is awesome.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. So I think that is one of, like, I think AVCA and like just any kind of formal training in general. I think I did the one from Minas. I think Cesar organized that a long time ago.
I participated on
Or
that.
just, yes.
Yeah, I
And that
didn't
was
organize,
amazing.
but I was one of the speakers on it.
And that was amazing. That, like, because there is difference in cultures and like between the international volleyball view and the American
Mm,
volleyball view. There's a lot of schools there. So then I think formal education where seminars and training and things like that, those are important. Other coaches, call a coach and be like, like our block in this last game was not great. So, and then knowing why it wasn't great and then trying to figure out solutions to that. I think just other coaches are great resources. I think people sometimes they do a drill in their gym that is just like turns a light bulb into your gym and it solves things. And then just I think another thing, social media nowadays, just following the right
Yeah, definitely.
accounts, following the right people, and then just your feed, like I tell my feed is like volleyball, workout, and food. Like that's my feed in any of my social medias. But you learn a lot from that. I would say like this year, we weren't pressing on the block as much as I want to. Like we weren't getting a lot. We were getting touches, but we weren't getting like blocks. And then it happened to pop up on my Instagram a video of a blocking drill. And it's like, I'm just gonna give it a try. And because it makes sense, obviously, like, I don't think people should blindly try drills. I think you need to know what the problem is. You need to know what you think the solution might be and find drills that fit that. So then when I watched, that was a drill that fit. And I wouldn't say immediately, but the very next game, we were a much better blocking team. So then I share with one of my other friend coaches that also was just like, we are getting there, but not stuff. And then she said, like, we blocked much better this week. Um, and that's something we added a little bit to our training and it was better. But I think it's just being, I think just recognizing and then finding solutions to it. I think, and like social media is great. Everybody posts on social media, following the right accounts and seeing the drills. It's really important too. I think that's a good source.
If you
that's
follow
great.
Peter, he has a lot of content. If
Yes,
you follow the Set Point podcast, then you're gonna have a lot of information as well.
exactly. Social media, I'm telling you.
Yeah,
Follow
The
Cesar.
socials.
You're gonna have a lot of good
yeah.
information too.
I have a few contents there that you might use.
A few.
Oh no,
Yeah.
what drill that you posted that we use all the time and my players love? Shield. All
Shoot,
the time. All the
I,
time.
I'm I'm gonna take ownership on this one because I created that one.
Yes. Yes, no, because you posted. I remember
Yeah.
you posted that and then I saw it and then I think I text you about it so that I can ask a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
bit more like questions about like how you ran it and things like that. We run it all the time. My
That's
play
pretty
like they
cool.
love it. So like if there's like towards the end too, like when we want to do 6-on-6, but we want to be a little bit more of like guided on what we do. Sometimes we do like, all right, like on the second part, so like it's a service even and like a point score. So then
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we give the free ball and the point score, but it has to come from like a cross play, or we give them a down ball to a certain position and it has to come out of system, or we have the first contact and they have to work out of system. So we sometimes we like deviate a little bit, but we use that all the time.
Very cool. I'm glad to hear that.
A
That's
proud
No,
coach
yes,
awesome.
right there.
I'm
There's a
glad I
proud
remember
coach
Proud
that.
right
It
friend,
there.
was
proud
like,
friend.
'cause
Yeah,
that
I'm
was,
glad.
yeah, that was you like 3 years ago, maybe a little bit longer,
Yeah,
but I was just like, I remember you posted and I'm just like, oh, this is perfect. Like, it was awesome. So thank you
I'm
for
very
that.
glad you're here. Yeah, you're welcome. I'm very glad to hear that. Really,
Oh, people, if
very
you can
humbled.
just watch on YouTube, you'd see Cesar's moved.
That's a big honor. That's great.
No,
Awesome.
it's
Thank you.
amazing. Congratulations.
you.
That's
No,
awesome.
congratulations to you. I just created a drill. You
Oh, no.
implemented it. No, great. So, Thais, I want to go back a little bit to leadership because that's my jam. I love to talk about leadership, and you have become such a great leader. And I just want to understand what was your evolution in terms of leadership. Now, talking about you as a coach, what was uh, leadership for you in the beginning, and what it is now, and how was that process?
I think leadership in the beginning, to be honest, was just me on that position. I don't think that there was a lot of thought process on, I was the head coach and I knew I had to be a model and an example. And I'm a very like type A strict person. So for me, it was just like, as long as I put my head down, I work hard, and I just show them that I'm doing everything I can, I expect them to model that behavior. And now I understand it's a lot more complex than that. One of the things I think on leadership that people lack a lot is they want leaders, but they don't create leaders. As an 18-year-old, I was not a leader, and I have a strong personality. Like I wasn't a leader at 18. I had no experience, and it's just like 2 times, and it's like, hey, you're going to be a captain and you're going to be a leader without teaching what that looked like. I think that was bad, and I think that was me. That was at the beginning. I was just like, you're a good player, you have the experience, and you have a good personality, and you have the same kind of mindset that I have. So you should be able to lead this team, and just kind of not provide any guidance. And I think now, as a leader for myself, I think it's just like I need to like learn every day. I think just continue progressing. Like we taught our players get better every day. As a coach, you need to get better every day. And not just drills, but just like your communication with your players, your care for your players, or things like you said, things that go outside of volleyball, or just your coaching staff and everybody around you. I think you just need to get better every day. And I think one of the things was just like I think I was just so serious before, like just like very hard mindset. And I think now I have to put myself in the present and just like enjoy the moments every time and things like that. And I allow my players to do that too, because sometimes you want your players to just be like, we need to do this drill and this is what we need to accomplish and we need to get better at this and we need to do this. And sometimes it's like we can do all of that and have some fun and enjoy it and still have the passion. So I think as a leader, that's something I had to learn to do it so that I can see that on my players too.
Yeah, that's a big challenge for us
Oh my
as a
God.
young coach, like to balance fun with being serious and
It is
actually,
possible though, right?
It
yeah,
is.
actually
But you have to
establish
be
your
very
position.
intentional. Yes.
Yeah, 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 definitely, definitely. And you talked about creating new leaders. I read a lot. John Maxwell, he talks about leadership a lot,
I'm
and
gonna write that.
yeah, and he levels the levels of leadership that you can accomplish in your career, and the second the last step of the leadership ladder that he has is creating new leaders, and then the last one is mentor the leaders that you created to create new leaders to multiply the leadership idea throughout your web. So this is a very cool, very it's very cool to listen to you to talking about creating leaders because that's what I believe as well. So we have a leadership group in our team, and we're multiplying the idea of leadership. So and eventually those people are gonna influence other people to become leaders as well. That's really cool.
I think it's funny because when you mentioned like the second to last, I feel for coaches, sometimes that's not an option because you have to create leaders to be successful
Definitely.
right away.
Yeah. Mhm.
So I think it's just those steps are, and that is important. And I
No,
like
very
the
important.
other part of leaders creating leaders because I think that's just a more, as the time goes by and then your players become players and like coaches or have other things in life to do that.
Mhm. And do you read, do you study leadership, or is that more organic in your life?
Yes, no, I study a lot. I just got done reading the book The Infinite Game. Um, it's it's it
Simon
it's funny
Sinek,
because it's
so
like
good.
it talks different, it's just I'm a little conflicted when I read because he talks about it can't be very is it yes.
Oh,
So it's
Simon
just
Yeah.
Sinek. Yes, it's
yes.
Simon
good.
Sinek, he's so good.
So but I think like I said, I was a little conflict because like for us we have some finite things. Like you got to win matches and you got to play games and you have to be good at some things, but then at the same time it's like when the game gets done, what does everything else looks like? Because you've done that part. So I
Yeah.
think that's just more of what I got out of that book. And I think it's just some of the things he talked about. It's just like, he talked about like Apple and Microsoft, where Microsoft was focused on what Apple was doing, and Apple was just focused on being the best versions of a
Exactly.
company. And I think that's just such a great mindset to have. Um, uh, and I love him. So like find out your why. Like
Mhm.
the series of the why books that
Leader,
he had
yeah,
was really good. I
leaders
have
is
like
last.
yes, Emotional Intelligence 2.0, the book that talks about, because I know there's a research that direct correlate high emotional intelligence to high performing athletes. You read all the books. I'm just trying to keep up a little bit. Yes.
There you go.
There you go.
I was
Let me
lucky
let
that
me see
both of
what
them
else
were
I can
here
pull it
right
out
next
that
to
you
me.
can pull it out of yours.
And then
That's
Yes.
funny.
for the people watching or listening to us, if you go to YouTube, there are a lot of Simon Sinek's videos
Yeah, he's
Yes.
with
amazing.
some of his lectures and his talks that are really, really good introductory views or videos that would lead you to, you
Mhm.
know, get into the rabbit hole of leadership.
Yes, that's how I got the Infinite Game, because I saw TikTok that he was just talking about it. So
There you go.
I Googled the quote on that TikTok, and then it came from that book. I was like, okay, I just gotta read it. Yes.
Yeah. And I'll risk it here and say that you got the three-peat the last 3 years because you have that infinite mindset, like the infinite
Yeah,
game mindset. Like
that's
the
true.
the winning a national championship is not the end of the road for you. It's just one of the steps. And
Yes.
if you had like, oh my gosh, I accomplished the biggest thing in my life, I'm just gonna relax and just live out of it. But no, you kept hungry and you stayed hungry and was fighting for more because you understand the process of being in
Yes.
it. That's
May
awesome.
I share with you guys a podcast that I've been listening to, and it's very, very good, and they're
You
very
may.
short. You can listen to it on your drive from home to work and back. It's called the Jefferson Fisher podcast. This is he's an attorney, and so he deals with people, and very, very good. So all the situations, like how not to get defensive, or how to what to say to dismissive replies, and
Oh, you sent it to me. Yeah,
yeah,
I
that is
listened to some of it.
how to handle
Love it.
liars. And then he goes with really specific techniques that you can use, and then one phrase, one word that you change, it changes the whole thing. So that's really good. And then for you guys listening to us, obviously it's in English, but the Jefferson Fisher podcast on Spotify, it's great. You can follow his Instagram. He has short videos like 30 seconds to a minute. And that's how I got hooked. I'm like, I need to know more about this. Then I looked up and I found the podcast. Everybody in a leadership position, I think we can all benefit from that.
Amazing. But now we could stay here for how many hours more, Peter? This talk.
972 hours.
972 hours we could stay here talking leadership, volleyball, everything
Yes.
that Thais is doing, which is amazing. But now we have a part of our podcast that is to get to know you a little bit more in a personal side. Is that okay?
Mhm.
So, people, this is pepper time. Let's go. All right, so we're gonna have a series of 11 questions here, Thais,
Okay.
that we're gonna ask you, and we're gonna alternate Peter and I. Okay, so the first one is tell us an important or defining moment of your life that influenced who you are today.
Um, I think when I decided to come to the US, I think that's a moment in my life that changed everything. I think if I hadn't made that decision, my parents supported me, I definitely wouldn't be here. But it's just that decision and the mindset to come change to who I am now.
Very good.
That's
Saiu da valeta.
No.
She got out of the ditch.
yeah. She
Very
got
good.
out of the ditch. Yes.
Yes.
All right,
Very
cool.
good.
The next question for you. Do you have any bedside books or favorite books or even podcasts that you listen to that you could share with us? Or is there anything that you're reading or listening to right now?
A podcast that I like a lot is Coaching Your Brains Out. That's a good
I
one. That
I might know that one.
I was gonna say I think No Cesar knows
you know,
somebody that's related
Yeah,
to it, but that's great. That's a great one.
yeah, it's
so I
amazing.
think that's
God,
always
it's
a
great.
fun one. Uh, Books, I need to learn because every book I read, I try to like have the purpose, but I don't think I have a book right now that I just finished the Infinite Game.
You talked about, yep.
Yes, but right now I don't have a book that is just the next one yet. No.
Okay.
Very good. You have to read Rise Above the Net.
Yes,
Oh,
obviously. I'm
yeah,
just waiting for a copy.
Right there.
yeah,
I'm
I
just
know, I
waiting
know
for a copy.
somebody,
So
I know somebody that has something to do with it. Yeah,
oh,
I
good. So
can
I
help
think I
you with
got the
that. I
book
can
up
help
for
you with
that.
that. Yeah,
And
okay.
and keep listening to Set Podcast because
Mm.
Yeah.
you understand Portuguese. So,
Yes.
Thais, next question is: who are your mentors?
Um, I think here I'm just gonna go outside volleyball. I think my parents are just big part of like who I am and who I am now. I think the distance, because my parents still live in Brazil, and I think the distance kind of got us closer in a way that's just like sorry, not an everyday thing, but we talk every day and then we have like deeper conversations here and there. So just their presence in my life and their influence and who I am, it's just unmatched.
Amazing.
Nice. All right, so now you are omnipotent in the world of volleyball, but you can only change one thing. So if you could change one thing, not volleyball, but in the sport in general, if you could change one thing in the world of sport, what would it be?
In the entire world of sport, in every sport.
Wherever you want.
Ooh, this might be a little country. I would change the way youth volleyball is coached.
Oh, talk more
I
about
think
that. Talk more about that.
I want to hear more.
I just think it's like when I fell in love with the game is when my dad, we were in the backyard, like back and forth, like this way, and then I got to play with my brother and my sister, and I got to, we would go on the street and then just put a line and play volleyball back and forth, and it's just like, I think sometimes, and I'm a little out of touch with youth playing outside of the U.S., but I know it's been a lot of overuse and like when you're maybe like 11 years old and you're playing 6-on-6 and you don't touch the ball for 5 or 6 plays because the ball just doesn't come at you, like you shouldn't be playing 6-on-6 on that age. You should be playing 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 4-on-4, and those should be the tournaments and those should be the thing. And that is fun when it's just like I'm either touching the ball or you touching the ball, and you, instead of like the ball is not in my area, I'm not touching it. So I think that, and I think that would create a lot more like passion for the sport.
Yeah, when we play 6-on-6, when we were very, very young, I used to say that kids get very good at watching while on the court. They become very good spectators of the game while they're on the court.
Yeah, we're trying to like adding the adult game into youth. Like you can't like pass set and hit is not something that's going to be primary on the younger age. So
Right.
it's like why couldn't you do 4 touches in practice every once in a while? And that's what you do. Like or bounces. Let them bounce. Let them prepare themselves and get a little bit more footwork instead of giving them one chance to touch the ball. I think that would be, I think making it fun and making it athletic and making that, I think that could be a good evolution to our sport
Uh,
in
that
general.
yeah, that's awesome. And if we look back in the history of our sport, there was no limit in the number of players on the court, and there was no limit of touches on the ball. So think about that. Historically speaking, volleyball hasn't been 3 touches all the way through. It hasn't been 6 people on the court all the way. So why can't we change stuff to make it more fun for the kids? I
Yeah,
agree with
and
you 100%.
mini volleyball. Italy does that like really well, and they develop players all the
Yeah,
time.
here,
And
here in our club, every single day
computer, yeah,
there is 2v2. Skinny court, small. It doesn't matter if you're 18 or 12. Every single day there is 2v2. Every
Mhm.
single day. That's really cool.
Right on. Now we're gonna go a little more personal, okay? So,
Hmm.
what do you regret the most, if you do regret something?
No, I think we. No, I don't know if I have some. I think I regret not being more um vulnerable earlier in my career. I think that kind of helped me a lot more now. I just like, knowing that, like, asking my players things is like, what do you want to do? And things like that. And it's just like, I think at first, when you first start coaching, like, you want to have control of everything that goes on around. And I think just becoming more vulnerable makes you a better coach. And I wish I knew that sooner.
Very good.
That's great.
It's
Yeah, you have to be
uh
very, very strong to be vulnerable.
yeah, it's a
Yes.
big sign, big sign of strength. Yeah.
Right.
Which is
Okay.
weird, right? Because
Right.
It is, yeah.
it's like everybody has this different mindset of, like, if you're vulnerable, like, I can't tell you how many times my players see me cry this year. Like, that's just it's fine, and I'm okay with it, and they know it, and it's just like, I
Well,
think it's important.
it makes you relatable. And the
Yes.
moment it makes you more relatable, it makes you connect to your players better. There's like a
Mhm.
downstream of events that happen when you show some vulnerability that
Yeah.
it's only good for you. Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
And I still
Okay.
struggle with it. Don't take
Yeah.
me wrong. I
Oh
still
yeah,
struggle with it, but I think
we
I'm
all
more
do.
aware and more conscious.
We all do. We all do.
Yeah.
People
That's
read
right.
Brené Brown. She talks about that a lot.
Yeah. So let's get this coin and flip it over. And now let's talk about pride. What are you most proud of?
Um, I'm most proud of, I think, the list of athletes that I've been able to coach. I think if you put that list together, I think that would be the list that I'm most proud of in my life. Just the impact that I have had on their lives and the path that they follow. Like, I try to follow every single one of my players and talk to them, I think. And I told someone the other day, we had an interview, and, like, I thank the first group that came in and the second group, and we wouldn't be here without any of them. So it's not just about the group that won today, but is the group that said yes in 2018. So I think that, or, the players that were prior to it, the players that were at Seward County that allowed me to just start my career as a head coach in college, and do, or the AD at the liberal high school that gave me my first head coach job, and my teammate that offered me the assistant coach. So I think just a list of, like, players and people that have been involved. I think I'm just proud of that path.
You know, the funny thing is, I asked you, what are you most proud of? And there you go, being grateful to people. That's
That
so
speaks so much
that
about her.
speaks so much about you. Yes.
Incredible.
Yes, that's incredible.
Yeah. Now let's go to some place that nobody knows. Nobody knows that Thais.
Nobody knows about me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something that
Or
very few people know or nobody knows.
it's secret time.
Oh, secret time. Let's see. Just some fun, like, I cross stitch. That's something that my mom taught me how to do it, and it's just so random, but, like, I do that. Fishing, love fishing. Fishing, I used to fish with my dad, and I'm the one that opens the fish and cuts it out and cleans it and all of that. Um,
I
yes.
like eating it.
Yeah. Hey, you see, there's the ones behind the scene in doing that. Um, I think that's it. Like, I think those are some of the things, the swimming. It's a lot of people don't. My
Yeah,
chemistry degree.
I
Swimming
didn't
coach,
know
I
that
didn't know
about
about
you. I
that.
didn't know about the swimming or the chemistry degree. You're a chemist.
Yeah, I
I
am a
knew I
chemist.
knew about the chemistry, yeah, but I didn't know
Yes,
about the
That's
swimming
that's
coach.
really cool. All
yes,
right. Yeah, that's cool. Now, so fill the blank. Family is?
everything.
Simple and
Yes,
powerful.
Yes.
yes.
Awesome. And then we have a new question here that we just put it in this list. Actually, we asked for one in Portuguese, and you're the first one to answer that in English.
Okay.
What question would you want someone asking you?
That one is hard because I think that it's you end up doing a lot of interviews and things like that. I think one of the questions that I actually got asked, and it was just like it got me to put things in perspective, and it was just like, first day of the job, I came in, sat in my office, like I didn't have a computer. It was like my first day of work. I just sat by myself in my office because I had no assistant, no team. I just sat by myself. And then he's like, what would you say, like me today, when I look back, and like, what would I say to that, like me sitting in the office by myself and like see everything that has happened that thus far? I think that's a question that I never been asked, and I think he had put so much in perspective, because obviously I had no idea of the progression that the career was going to take, and it just put a lot in perspective. So just like that, just what would, like, I think it's just, I don't know exactly how to put in a question, but what would I say to myself at
Like,
that
what
point?
would you say to Coach Thais in
Yes,
2018?
yes, yes.
So, what would you
That's
say to
really cool.
Coach Thais in 2018?
Um, just work hard and keep growing. I think that's part of it. Yes.
I can see in your eyes how proud you are of your history, and that's so cool. And you should
Yeah,
be. And you should be.
You
thank
should
you.
be for sure.
Appreciate. I think it's hard to put in perspective when you're there every day, and you're just like, because you're there and you plan every practice, and you want every game, and you want to do all of those, and then but taking a step back. And I think I didn't realize until I saw the article that they post about the coach of the year, and it is just, we lost 3 matches in 3 years, and we won 3 national championships in 3 years. So we won as many championships as we lost matches. And this year we beat 17 nationally ranked teams, and we won 80 sets and only lost 7. So I think when you couldn't ask me that and I wouldn't know. But then when you put that in perspective and you read it in, like, when someone else's eyes, I think it just puts in different perspective.
Yeah, this is a really good exercise because, like you said, when you are in the process, you're a part of it.
You don't
You are a
realize.
byproduct and a subject of the process.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's really hard to analyze everything, but
Hmm.
when you make this exercise to look back, now Coach stays in 2018, 19, you distance yourself from that
Yes.
process a little bit, then you can put things in perspective. That is so great. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I'm just gonna add one thing to that. That there is an exercise that I've been doing with myself, which is journaling, but I'm doing it a different way. I I try to write in a journal and in a type in my, but it doesn't work with me. So I'm recording audios to myself at the end of the day. So I started this week, and I don't know what's gonna come out of it. So I'm gonna revisit the audios from time to time and say, all right, let me
A
let
year
me
from
do
now,
a
we're gonna have a
journaling.
book. A year from
It's
Probably.
now,
an
he's
Yeah.
gonna.
I don't know.
audiobook.
Possibly. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But it's a that. But my point to this is this self-reflection is very important for you to kind of adjust the route, adjust the path, and put things in perspective, like you said.
That's
Yeah,
It's
and
awesome.
it is hard.
it's
It's
really
hard
hard.
because, like, you want to work, like you put the work in, so you want to
Mhm.
be successful, but like just taking a little pride on that success sometimes is hard, because
Yeah.
what went behind it.
Yeah. And self-knowledge. It's one of the pillars of
I
emotional
know.
intelligence.
I'm learning. Maybe I need to read it
Those-
again.
Yeah, no, it's very important. Very important. Once
Yes.
you
That's
know
really
what
cool.
ticks you, that everything becomes a little more
Yes.
clear. I'm not
No,
gonna say it becomes easier because it does not,
it does
but
not.
it becomes a little more clear, maybe.
Yes.
Now, look at us talking all complex and deep stuff. That's so cool.
Look at
That's so
that.
cool. Yeah,
And
right. So, Thais, we are in this podcast project for since May. It hasn't been a
mhm.
year yet, and I was reflecting upon that yesterday. And we've talked to so many nice people, so many competent and what they do, but more importantly, they're good people like yourself, and we're having so much fun and learning so much, and we're having the opportunity to share that with the people that listen to us and watch us, and we're very grateful for that. But for us to keep doing it, we count on our guests to help us keep this thing going. And so, would you recommend somebody or anybody or recommend two people to come on over here so that we could have a chat like this?
Yes, yes. I'll have to think a little bit more of I think possible guess. I think on the junior college and one person that I have relied a lot on is Paula Widman. I don't know how
It's
much
great.
she
Yeah.
she just got inducted on the Hall of Fame for West Plains. She was a junior college coach for 33 years. She was actually the she was the AVCA board member for 2-year
Mhm.
college. So I think she has a lot more of like a perspective of the the administrative side as far as like in a coach's view, because she was the president for the NJCAA Coaches Association, um, as well as the AVCA representative. And as she was running a very successful program,
Mhm.
and I think they hosted the tournament while she was there too. So then she has done a lot to that. And I think I know I have called her multiple times in the middle of the
She's
season.
amazing.
So
She's amazing. Yeah.
yes, I think she's someone that that could get a good experience in good years. That's done a
Nice.
lot for volleyball in junior college.
Great.
That's very cool.
Very good. Thais, we have a lot of coaches that listen to us now in English and Portuguese, right? So we're lucky enough that we can do this project in two languages that can reach many, many people. And mostly we have coaches here, coaches that coaches junior level until professional Olympic level, athletes, former athletes. I'm pretty sure, yeah, some of your athletes and some of your former athletes, hopefully they're gonna
Yes.
watch and listen to this episode. So just leave them a message.
Um, we just had Thanksgiving here in the US
Mhm.
and we went back and I'm just thankful and grateful for the su- the the chance that I have to be a coach. I think it's a privilege to be a coach and it's a privilege to be someone that has influence, and I think people need to take that with a kind heart. So I just thankful that all my athletes trusted on me on that and everybody, my administration. So just keep working and just be thankful.
That's very humble and incredible, incredible. Thais, we cannot thank you enough for spending this time with us. It was amazing. Every time I have 2 pages of notes,
Oh no.
it means the episode was epic, and this one was
Perfect.
definitely epic. And so most of the things that you told us here show why you're so successful.
Oh, thank
It's so cool to see someone that I saw as
oh
an
my God,
assistant
baby
coach and
coaching.
yeah, baby coaching back in 2009. It was my
Yes.
first experience in the United States. I barely spoke English. Thank God you speak Portuguese too, so we could create this relationship, this friendship that has been very strong for more than 15 years. And I'm really glad we have this friendship. I am so proud of you and so proud of everything that you accomplished. But more than that, I'm proud of the person and the coach that you have become, because you put people first, and that's our main motto here is people first. And it shows when I see your Instagram feed with a lot of reposts from players, that from people that played with you, played for you, coaches that have coached with you reposting being happy for you. That shows a lot about you. Okay,
Thank
so thank you for spending this time with us. It's a big pleasure, and I'm so proud of you.
you.
Yeah, I didn't have the pleasure to know you uh as long as Cesar. And then in 2022, I think, when we were in Nebraska,
Mhm.
Yes.
and I looked at you and I was like, "Whoa, that's a badass coach." And then getting to know you a little more, I was like, "Whoa, that's a badass person." And so, like, the person matches the coach, and so, uh, in a good way. And
Mhm.
in talking to you today here, and following you and your career, and I just wanted to tell you that I want you to know that you can be 100% sure that you've impacted all of your players, and the people that came across your life. And I'm sure you've been impacted by them
Mm.
as well.
Yeah.
But it's rare to meet a person in so little time that that person leaves a mark, and you're leaving a mark not only in your athletes but in junior college history. And I don't know if you understand how much of a big
Not
deal
yet.
that is,
Yes.
and
Big deal.
at some point we're gonna come back to this day, that this talk
Mhm.
that we had. We're like, yeah, Peter said so. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
I only wish you more of all the good stuff, more quality time with your family, more, success with your players, that your program grows even bigger. And then you get a bigger office for so many more trophies and plaques that you need to put on. And, peace of mind to know when you need to take a step back, and wisdom. I think if we were all focused on become wisdom people, or more knowledgeable, and that's what I wish to every person that makes good impact on others. And I just want you to be more successful, more of everything, all the good stuff. So thank you for saving this time to come talk
Oh,
with us. Thank you very much.
yeah. And I'm thankful. I appreciate the really kind words that you guys have. I really appreciate, because I know how much knowledge and how much for the sport you guys do, and how much impact you guys have. So just knowing that, you recognize the work, is just unbelievable, and I really appreciate.
We do recognize and we model it. So there are
Oh
some
no.
notes here that I'm definitely going to use in my team. So, Thais, thank you again. And just referencing what Peter said, when we come back here and remember this conversation, maybe you're going to have 6 titles in a row. Who knows? The
Yeah, hey,
sky
we'll
is the
see.
limit for this woman.
Yes.
Incredible. All right, guys, thank you so much for following us until this point. Make sure you like our content here on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. Share this episode with everyone. And if you have a Brazilian friend who wants to come to the United States, tell him to access our QR code here that stayed in the screen for the whole episode. Get in touch with Lucas Negrin from Nexus Neck, and he will help them to get an opportunity here in the United States, exploring the how many opportunities, Peter?
187.
187.
Yeah. 187. All right, guys, thank you so much. And we'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, guys, go to YouTube. Even if you listen to this episode on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, leave a comment, share it with your family, with your friends, with the athletes that you know, with the coaches that you know. And then, as I always say, come back to check the next one.
All right, thank you guys. I'll see you in the next one.